Hi everybody, this is Pat in the paper closet. I'm glad you came back to join me today. Today I'm going to be making, last time we made a card folio. Came out very well, works out well. But I want to make one, see these are more like handmade cards. The 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch size. And this time I want to make one that will hold either larger handmade cards or store-bought cards. So I've kind of been working on my numbers, figuring out how big we need this. So I want to have it so it'll be 6 inches wide, a 1/2 inch binding, and then 6 inches for the front. And then I want it to be 8 1/2 inches tall. Now I'm working with 8 1/2 by 11 inch cardstock, which means I'm going to need a piece that is at least 17 inches wide. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you today, this will come in handy. We're going to glue 2 pieces of cardstock together, and then I'll show you where to put the seam so it won't be so obvious. Let me move this out of the side. Now I have 2 pieces of cardstock, either 8 1/2 by 11, and I'm going to overlap them by 1/4 inch, and I'm going to glue them. So I usually use my board. You may have seen me doing this before. Line it up on one of the lines, get my glue, and then I'm going to run glue along the 1/4 inch side. And I hope my glue's going to cooperate. There we go. Very good. A little bit too much on that end. You don't want too much so it oozes out of the seam. It'll mess up your paper. So just kind of a little bit along the edge. Making sure you get the ends. Got that end for sure. And I'm going to take our paper. You see, here's a 1/4 inch from where the end of my paper is. I'm going to line this up good. On the line. And I'm going to lay this over 1/4 inch there and a 1/4 inch at the bottom. Line up the edges here in the bottom and then press it down. Not too hard. You don't want to squash out the glue. So then give that a minute to dry. I always have a paper towel or a napkin handy for any glue that does come out. And then I'm going to turn it over and press it down again and wipe off the excess glue. It'll dry clear, so just don't get too much coming out. Okay, we're going to give it a minute to dry so it doesn't pop apart while we're using it. Turn it over again. Like that. Now, yeah. So now we have a piece that is, see if I can measure it here. My mat is 12 inches. 12 plus 4. So it's 16 and 5/8. And that'll be plenty for our card folio. Because we want it 6 inches wide, that's 12, and we want a 1/2 inch in the middle. There's really only 12 1/2 inches we need, but we can't get that out of a 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock. So we've glued the 2 pieces together. And now, I have to figure out where I want my seam. I think I want the seam to be on the back of the folio. So this will be the front of my folio. So it'll be 6 inches with 6 right here, and then a half an inch, and then the other 6 inches, and the seam will fall in the back. So it won't be on our front cover. Okay, so I'm going to get my paper trimmer. And I'm going to cut this. So we want 6 and 6 is 12 plus a half. So we want 12 and a half inches. A little awkward with this large piece of paper. Okay, luckily my ruler is long enough on my cutter. So if I cut it here, this will be the front side, 6 inches and my half, so my seam will be in the back. So this is where I'm going to cut it. 12 and a half inches. Save that for scrap. Now it's going to be, we don't have to cut anything off the bottom, like on our last folio, because we're going to fold this up to pockets. So we don't need this anymore. I'm going to get out my scoreboard. We're going to score it. Okay. Now we want to remember, we want this on the back. So we're going to start with our front area, which is 6 inches. So we'll score it at 6. Do I have this right? Why does it look so long? I do have to cut it. No, I don't. Sorry. 6 inches. Give it a good score. Because it's heavy cardstock. Now our 1/2 inch binding. That brings us to 6 and a half. And then 6 to the back takes us to 12 and a half. So that's perfect. Now we're going to turn it. And we're going to score it at, let's see, the length of our folio is going to be 8 and a half inches. So we're going to score it 8 and a half over our seam. I'm going to have to flip it over because it's too long for my scoreboard. Do this one first. And we want a 1/4 inch gusset on the bottom. So that's 8 3/4. So we scored here at 8 and a half and 8 3/4. In the middle we scored at 6 and 6 and a half. I'm going to flip this over so I can get this other end. 8 and a half down to where I finished. And 8 3/4 down to where I finished. So I have it scored the full length. Okay, we can put the scoreboard away. And we're going to do some folding now. Now remember, we want the seam to be on the back cover. So it'll be on this side. So let's fold on these score lines. Give it a good crease. We're making this the same way we made the smaller one. So if you made that one, you know the process here. Now we're going to fold on the second score line. Okay. Now we're going to fold on the bottom score line, the gusset area along the bottom. So we have 2 lines to score, to fold. And give those a good crease. And the second one. This will give it a gusset on the bottom. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing we did on the other one. We're going to cut up on these fold lines up to the second score mark. We don't want that in our pocket area. Excuse me. Up to the second score line. Same thing on the other side. So it will look like this. This gets glued into the spine, the binding. And then this will be our pockets. So we'll glue this down. Not too much, but you want to know if that'll harden the binding area when it's dry. Okay, put that up there. Inside the lines. And let it dry. So this will form our binding as before. Well, this would be the front actually. Whoops, I have it folded wrong, don't I? Too late. Well, I'll have to show you how to hide the seam. Okay, we're going to put our pockets. We're going to give them a little miter at the bottom, only to the first score line. See? That's my piece I cut off. Same thing on the opposite side. Mitering it up to the first score line. So you have these two little pieces that you cut off. Don't need them. Alright, we're going to put some glue on the corner. You could glue the whole side down if you really want, but there's no reason. The glue holds fine. Now when you're folding it up, make sure you have your gusset formed. You don't want to flatten that. And then press down the side. Let your glue dry a little bit. Okay, same thing on the opposite side. Glue in the corner. Make sure your gusset is showing. You don't want it flat. Okay, this is the base. Oh, not dry yet, see? Hold it down a minute. This one's good. So that's the basic base of our card folio. You see our gussets are on the bottom. They're open, not flattened out. Okay, we have our base part built. Now I thought of something I want to do to give it a little more strength. I've cut a strip the same color as the base at 3/8 by 8 1/4. Now I'm going to glue this in here just to make this a little bit stronger. So, I'll put some glue on there. Not too much, as usual. You don't need a lot of glue. You just need good coverage. So we're going to go all the way. to the end. Make sure you get some on the ends. You want it to stick all the way. Okay. Now I'll take our strip. I can do this without getting glue all over me. And we're going to place it down the middle. Just line it up a little bit, like a 1/16 of an inch from the bottom. Inside of the fold lines. Don't know if you can see the fold lines on camera. I think you can. Okay, now we're going to press it down. I don't think you missed any of that. I had a little problem with the screen. Gonna wipe up the glue. It's coming out. And give it a good press down so it's fully stuck. Just back over to the score line. Give it a good press. From the outside, you don't want to press down too hard on the pockets. Just press in the center. You don't want to squash our pockets down so they hold their gusset. Alright, that's good. Now that will, once the glue dries, give it a lot of stability. It'll be a lot harder. And that's it for the base. The whole base is done now. Now what I want to do, I have printed on vellum this pattern, and I'm going to make it go like this. I think I'm going to put behind it, because we really can't see it, a white piece first, and then put this over it. That'll stand out a lot better. We'll get it all lined up. And I've also cut another strip, 3/8 by 8 1/4. Now I'm going to put this along the edge, just so it's not so plain. I could have cut it the full size, but I don't want it too plain. So when we get it all lined up, it'll look pretty good. It'll have a little interest. I've also found in my embellishments, I think this color would go well with this. So I may put this on the front. So let's work on putting this together. Now, to put down vellum, you can't put glue on it because you can see through it. You'll see all the glue, and it all buckles up. So I'm going to use a tape runner on the back of this, but I'm going to put glue on this because I want this to harden up the front. So we'll get this put down. Put on our glue. All around. Again, not too much. You don't want heavy on the glue. Along all the edges. Don't mind me, I just keep checking if my screen is still working. Okay, going all the way around with the glue. Carefully. Not too much. And then we're going to cover the inside. Not cover, but get quite a bit of glue on here. This is what's going to make it harder. But we don't want it soaked. we'll just scribble it around. That should be good. Okay, now we're going to put a piece on the front. Now you want to line this up. I'm going to open it out, make it easier. So here's the edge of our binding right here. String's glued to my finger. We're going to lay it down. Don't press anything down yet. Line up the bottom and the side. We have a very tiny little border on this, only a 1/16 of an inch. So we have a little time to wiggle it around. Get it straight and press it down. And that's going to make the whole base a lot stronger. Make sure it's staying straight. It might slide around a little because the glue is wet. Looks pretty straight. Pressing the center glue down. All around the edges. Make sure your edges are stuck down well. There, that should do it. Okay. Now this piece, like I said, we're going to put it off center. So we have this little room over here. And we're going to do the same thing, we're going to line it up, but I'm going to use tape runner on this. And the only purpose for this is to hold it down. It's not going to harden anything up, so we don't have to worry about that. Let's see if it's working. Alright, now this is, can't tell what's the front or the back. That way. I think I like this way better. I'm going to put the tape runner on the back. Hopefully this one's working. No, it's not. I don't know. Sometimes these work for me, sometimes they don't. This one is not working. Plenty of tape in there. Would help if I opened it. Okay, I think we're good. Tape runner on the edge. Hard to see on this because it's clear. Along the edge, all four sides. I'm going to put a little bit, I don't want to lay this in the tape runner on my neck. A little in the center. Okay. Now, this we don't have any wiggle room with it. Once it's down, so we have to put it down carefully. We want that tiny border again. I'm going to try for the bottom and the side. And slowly put it down. That looks good. See, we can't see the tape runner through the vellum, but you would see the glue. So we use this. Give it a good press. Okay, now we need our little strip along the side. That's just gonna make it not look so plain. Center it. That's what it'll look like. This we're gonna put glue on. hope my directions are clear enough. I'm trying to make it so you see every step of the way. As far as gluing, cutting. If you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. Any ideas for future videos? Or any recommendations? Okay. Let's glue this on now. I'm going to start at the bottom. Line it up with the vellum paper in the middle between the binding and the paper and the vellum. Now it says glue on, so we have some wiggle room. Get it as straight as we can. Press it down. Making sure your ends are stuck. Try not to squash your gussets. There. Alright, looking good. Now I found this little embellishment. I think I want to try putting it on here. The colors go well. Where to put it? I think I'll put it on the bottom. Okay, now instead of using, most people use those foam squares. I just buy the sheet of craft foam. It's only about a 1/16 of an inch deep. And then I glue them. They don't have the tape backing on them. It's just a piece of foam cut into little pieces. And that'll raise it up a little. But not too much. You don't want it sticking out too far. Okay, that should hold them. Now, when I say on the bottom, we're going to put this. We'll put it in this corner. Hold for a minute so the glue can dry on the foam. Okay, now we're going to put on our ribbon. We need the ribbon closure. So we're going to do it just like the other one. We're going to glue a little above the half mark. Halfway up, a little above that. Put down some glue. Not too much. Tap that on there and hold it down. This is 7 inches of ribbon. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm blocking. Okay, let that dry for a minute. Okay, now we're going to do the other side. Move that up. Nothing exact here. And up here we'll put the glue. Not too much, but enough that it's going to hold a ribbon now. This is fabric. It needs a little bit more glue than the paper. Put the frazzled end on the end. Press it down. Straight. Let it dry for a minute. Now if you wanted, I'm going to let those dry before I tie it. You could cut a sheet of paper if you don't like the inside of this. Like I said, I put my seam on the wrong side, but that's okay. You cut your paper. This is 6 by 8.5, so you could cut it at, say, 5 3/4 by 8 1/4, and you would push it in inside your pocket, push it down, and that would cover this. The same thing on this side. But I'm not going to do that because my cards are going to be in here. I don't have any large cards made right now, but this is what it would sort of look like. You would have larger cards. And I think most store-bought cards are about this size. They may be a little bit taller, but they could stick out a little. And you could fit 6 to 8 cards and envelopes in your folio. And these, well, I just have an assortment in here. I wouldn't have any specific all birthday or thank you. I would have just this one for the large cards. And that's it. When this is dry, we could tie a bow and you're all set. You have this one, and you have your small ones. Put them on a shelf, and your cards are stored safely. You're not going to get squashed or dusty. You know where they are. You can find them easily. So I hope this helps. Hope you can use this idea. And like I said, if you have any ideas or suggestions, things to make in the future, just leave me a comment below. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button, and this way you'll know when I put up a new video. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back soon. Thank you.